Hello! Welcome back to another very special episode of Starting Stand Up in Maine with David Walton. Today, David Walton, am sitting down with Caleb Theodore Sherman. Very powerful name for a powerful man. A fascinating figure in Portland, Maine's comedy scene, okay? Caleb works and performs at the Empire Comedy Club. It's a 30-seat theater that gets huge names. Caleb has been there since 2016. He was born in 1992. He was born to mental health professionals in upstate New York. Caleb grew up in the Poconos with an almost clinically perfect upbringing. His words, not mine. He's been nurtured by very conscientious parents who have obviously screwed him up because he's in stand-up. He studied philosophy in college, which is a worthless degree, as we all know. But he discovered through a poetry reading his love for performance at these poetry open mics. But he found himself more interested in getting laughs than finger snaps. Since 2016, Caleb has seen it all. And when I say that, I mean it quite literally. I won't give away the number yet, but I believe Caleb has seen more open mics than any other human being on earth. And we had a fascinating conversation. I loved it. One of the coolest things about doing this is that I get to meet people like Caleb, not know him, invite him to my home, trust this man with long hair down to his nipples who looks a little bit dangerous in a good way, but then turns out to be a extremely soulful, kind, intelligent human being. So what you're about to listen to is two men getting to know each other for the first time. So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation that dives deep into the craft of comedy, specifically open mics and their value. Here is my chat with Caleb Theodore Sherman.
Oh man, that's rubbish! That's rubbish!
I was born in a bathtub at home on purpose.
Mama hippie?
They were. My parents.
By the way, Caleb has long
hippies.
hair, I would say nipple length. And he's got some good facial hair, but nicely manicured. Doesn't look homeless.
Really?
You do have something going on with your eyes, which is interesting.
Oh, vitiligo? I have vitiligo. Facts.
What is
started
that?
When I was 14. It's a harmless autoimmune disorder where your immune system destroys your melanocytes, so you have patches of your skin with no pigment.
Oh.
Michael Jackson claimed to have had this disease,
Yeah.
but was probably just like early on the Korean skincare trend of skin lightening.
Sure.
So we don't. Vitiligo people, I speak for us all when I say I'm not sure that was who we would have picked for our spokesperson,
Yeah.
but that's who we have as the point of recognition.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've
a bit on the hands and then on the eye.
Everywhere.
Oh,
It's-
everywhere. That's
imagine
exciting.
the crevices
Ladies,
of my body
everywhere.
that it might be.
No,
I
no.
have bits
But
of
it
office.
looks, just as a first impression, it looks like you have 6 sunglasses that you're just like
Yep.
rocking.
That's my favorite interpretation of what it might be on site, because I get insecure that people will think that I'm tanning. Like I'm just laying in a
well, you
tanning
just had a
bed.
disastrous tanning bed
Right.
session where
like this is a spray tan catastrophe that happened, and I don't want people to think I'm vain enough to go not to.
All right,
shots
I
fired at people
derailed, but
too.
that's cool. No, it looks cool. I think it's a good look. So anyway,
Yeah,
go.
it's in fashion for sure.
You have witnessed how many open mic performances estimate back of the
wow.
napkin?
Holy crap!
Years and
Maths.
numbers.
We got to do some maths.
Yeah.
because let's
I'll
see,
speed this part up, bro. Take your time.
4 or 5 open mics a week. For how many weeks? Let's say an average of 4 mics
Okay.
a week with an average of, let's say, 12 people on them.
Okay.
12.
That's 48.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of hours.
That's 48 a week. Sounds like you've been going to 6 years of open mics.
It's a lot.
At 50 weeks a year, obviously you're not going to every week.
True.
So I would say you're somewhere between 200 and 250 times 42 weeks.
Wow.
So let's just call it low parameter. We'll go 200 times 42, which is
crazy.
8,000.
That's a lot. Never thought about it that way. Yeah. Wow.
200 times 4, is 800. So 200 times 40 is 8,000. Okay. I just want to check something. You're in the top 0.001% of the global population in open mic witnessing. And I would say maybe top 100 on earth.
There's thousands of us.
Dude, I think you're number one in the world.
Number one.
No, but so this is an incredible insight. And I think when you mentioned, when we had this idea to come on, I had just done an open mic. I think it was my 18th or 19th ever. Okay. And then we just started chatting and I was like, I fucking hate open mics. And you were like, I love open mics. And I was like, yeah. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be great. So it's like a game it's like Crossfire on CNN right now.
Okay.
So no, I mean, we don't have to argue about it, but I would love to know what is it about open mics that you love?
Yeah.
What have you learned watching open mics? You know, I just want to extract your experience, and especially for listeners, because it's a ton of value for burgeoning stand-ups and just people who are now interested in the whole world of stand-up comedy.
Yeah. What do I love about open mics? Oh, the humanity of it all.
Yeah.
If you're a hardcore comedy fan, you like, I think even through someone's like nervous jitters because it's their first couple of mics, can see a good premise and a good joke. I love that. I love to see people facing their fears, right? Mm-hmm. People who do it one time, like these people that come in with all sorts of bravado who you don't expect to just crumble as soon as they get up there. That's great too. That's a part of it. Yeah. This Schadenfreude, a little bit of it, but also just the vulnerability of it. Be like, yeah, big tough guy, like this is hard and that's okay. And we support you anyway, man.
You're sweet. You're much more of a sweetheart than I thought. Now I feel like a real asshole.
No, not at all.
No, keep going.
And I love also like people getting their first laughs, like seeing people light up that are getting their first laughs. I love watching the downfall of the itinerant alcoholic piece of shit that you wish wasn't as funny as he is, and over time gets less funny and less coherent. That's a perfect open mic experience over the course of years. Is to
you
watch
mean so he comes
downfall.
His first guy up? There's all this like promise.
Right.
And then his alcoholism,
the potential.
There's so much potential, and he goes the other way.
And then you realize that 2 years in, he hasn't written 10 minutes and is doing crowd work at an open mic that is increased. It's just devolving week over week. Yeah, there's all that. That's a valuable lesson too. It's all learning, right? I love that. I think earlier we asserted that maybe I had some sort of natural inclination to be funny, but I didn't recognize it. And I think that I would say, to whatever degree I've improved in my stand-up writing, delivery, performance, doing stand-up, especially at open mics, I had to learn it. I'm a student of it. None of it came naturally to me. Yeah. And I was as insufferable as a lot of other open micers are when they start doing, hack shit, doing dirty, gross stuff for the sake of being perverse humor and shocking. And I still revel in that to some degree. I mean,
me too.
I've featured now for like national headliners at Empire Comedy Club. I've had the blessing to be able to do that. And like my A material that I always pull out is about putting an ice cream scoop in my ass. Yeah, good. I think that's fine.
It's true.
It's a true story. So, but that all came out of open mics and that culture of the open mic.
So where are you at in your career? I just want to sort of, let's start there.
Where am I? I mean,
how many, so you started when? What year?
2016.
Okay. And then you took a couple years off during COVID.
Yeah. So I was like in 2018, semi-finalist at the Empire Comedy Competition and like did a half hour because that was the prize for the semifinalists.
You had a half hour materials, 2 hours in, 2 years in.
I didn't, but I certainly performed for 30 minutes. I did my time.
That's amazing. That's terrifying.
It wasn't great. Looking back on it, it could have been a lot worse. But I was dedicated to going to the mics, and I would write a new 5 minutes every week for my first couple of years.
Whoa.
And no matter if it, and a lot of it, ate shit, of course.
But you never retested material?
Never. Until I started getting on shows in 2018, I would do a new thing every week.
Okay, but hold on a second. How do you know that it's funny or not? Because this is my big problem with open mics. Like, for example, the one we just were at together. Those were all ostensibly other stand-ups. Right. I was looking at the audience as people were being, it wasn't bad, some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And no one's paying attention, dude. Everyone's like looking at their own notes. So how on earth do you know that a joke is good or not?
You don't. Not based on one's open mic performance, for sure.
So do you wish you tried more of those out? Or were you like the pipe metaphor where you're just, I need 2 years of unclogging my shit pipe?
I did need that. I think I did. I think it was an outlet for me. I think I also had no ambition beyond getting better at public speaking, right? Like being a little less nervous every week. And the only agenda I had was to like say my ideas out loud to a room. Yeah. For that time. So it was a lot. It was like an outlet thing. And I was just writing and getting it out. But
amazing, dude.
Once I started to get shows, then it's like, well, I would like them to laugh. The open micers, I did care a little bit. I wanted to like get into those circles, and I wanted that. I did want them to laugh, but I was more preoccupied with like writing little rants. I'm very ranty.
I was ranty too, and I thought that was enough.
No, we can't all be Bill Burr, but you don't. And comics are not an audience that paid to come to a comedy show either, so it's not doing you any service. You can glean plenty of useful information right from just the performance. I would say 80% of the utility of going to an open mic for the first lot of time that you're going to open mics is just getting comfortable on stage.
Yes.
Speaking, hitting the points you wanted to hit in a bit. That's like a huge chunk of the usefulness. It's not about identifying what's funny. And I would also say my point of view on it is I do know that something is funny when I write it, and it's more dependent on me successfully saying it, delivering it, than it is the word. Like I know, like you can identify a joke. You know what the laugh line is, right? And it might be not as funny as you thought, or it might be funnier than you thought, but it's funny. You know that when you write it. I think controversial, but I don't know.
You know that there's a rhythm that you have released the tension, and either there's a laugh or not. But you have stated a joke, and if you've done it with courage, you have stuck it, and then you're there to see what the reaction is.
I don't know if we were recording, but I was talking about how I used to canvas and ask people for money at the door, and when I was training college kids to ask for money door to door, in our practice, I would be like, how did you feel about that ask when they would get to the ask, right? Did you feel like it was a good ask? Very similar. I feel like you just know I fucked that joke up. The joke is funny, but I fucked it up. Or I nailed it, didn't get the laugh that I thought it would, now we have to think what other factors went into why this room of people in this context today, looking at me, laughed only this much at this thing that I think should be like the finale to this big 5-minute set or whatever. You know,
but you can't judge, again, back to those open mics. You can't judge the lack of laughter on anything that's true, because no one's paying attention, unless some people are. And like I've noticed as I've progressed and gotten objectively more, playing by the rules of stand-up and like saying actual jokes.
Right.
I now see that some people are like, you hear a couple, and that's why the recording, Gary Goldman's 366 tips that we talked about. Yeah. The number one is record your things and listen back. Yep. And my friend Al Madrigal's done HBO specials. He's like, record and listen where the laughs are, and where you're not getting a laugh that isn't important information, you just like, it's just gone. Cut it. Yeah. It's like I have the book, Stephen King's On Writing book that we were both praising. Same thing. It's just like, get rid of all extraneous everything. Yeah. And that seems to be a lot of the game. It's more almost science. It's more like tinkering in an automobile shop.
Something that I recall from Stephen King's On Writing is he describes it as like archaeology, like just brushing with a toothbrush off the stuff, right? Revealing exactly the structure of the thing that's already there. It's like a subtractive sculpture art, right? Like the form's in there. You got to chisel it right. Yeah. And if you chisel too much, you have a deformed thing. If you don't chisel enough, you don't have a formed thing at all. Yes. Yeah. Totally.
Okay. So all right. I'm buying the open mic, the value of it. Yeah. And totally about getting comfortable. I think at my stage, I don't have the confidence you have that the joke is funny. Meaning, I can think it's funny, you know. But if it bombs, it bombs. I know, in talking ad nauseum with so many people in the last year, like Sam Morril, who's so good and so funny.
You talked to Sam Morril?
No.
Oh, he's so good, though.
He's so good. Yeah. Whoever's listening, go watch Sam Morril. But
he
was just in Portland.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
But I know that Val over at the Comedy Cellar, Sam, before his Comedy Cellar shows, he's a writing machine, and he's got 5 alts. And he's like, which one, Val? Which one should I go? Which one did I go with?
Like what set he should do?
No. Which joke he should do? What's funny? Like he's constantly. And Gary Goldman's other tips is just like, the minute you have a laugh, like there's more laughs in there. We were talking about that. There's more ways to get more. You can probably get 3 laughs where you didn't think there was any. And you can change a word, whatever. But Val's statement was, Sam doesn't know what's funny until he does it, and he I think, and let me preface it by saying, I've witnessed people testing jokes. They're all funny.
Yeah,
I think what he's saying in his brain is, what's the funniest?
What's the one?
Yeah. Yes, totally. And they don't know what the funniest is. They can think it is, but they all know that they're jokes that will get chuckles.
Totally. Yeah, that's the only level of confidence that I have. It's like, nobody is going to throw something at me and tell me to leave after I say this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bare minimum.
They will see.
They will appreciate the effort that went into crafting a joke, quote unquote. Yeah.
I'm by no means, like, I would say Sam Morril, really brilliant joke writer. I don't know where this distinction lies in my brain exactly, but like, I don't think of myself as like a great joke writer. I can write. I can articulate things. Yeah, obviously. To some degree. Yeah. It's not going to be like 1970s joke book formulaic.
That's done. That world is over.
But so I think like joke's a pretty nebulous category, but I don't think that I'm the strongest joke writer. I am a fucking weirdo, and that goes a long way if you're able to like bring people into your point of view. I'm much more interested in that than like I have endeavored to like nail the structural parts of it. Not that I don't want that challenge too. And I do trim some fat and think about where to change words here and there, but never been a great wordsmith.
Me neither. And
Yeah.
I constantly, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't, because I have a friend who's a comedy writer professional. He's written scripts. He's written movies with Robert De Niro, like big comedy films. And I will reach out to him, and I'll usually record something in my car or something. And I'll be like, what do you think of this? Does this feel hack? And within like a nanosecond, he's got like 3, like, it's like blank that are just tight ass fucking jokes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this your, I'm gonna have him on the podcast, so I'm like, is your brain just auto training joke? It's like all day. And he's like, kinda. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
because he's been in sitcom rooms, for that's his 8,000 thing of just like pitching jokes to 10 other good comedy writers.
Yep.
And so that brain, and I know that that's not how my brain works. I'm more like with you, philosophizing, thinking deeply about things. My brain naturally goes to either like FedEx middle management logistics, like how do I get to my kid's school like 20 seconds faster, you know?
Yeah.
Or, I'm just off in the clouds thinking of just not jokes things. I will say if I'm writing every day, I start to get more of the downloads, like the accidental, oh, that would be funny. It's sort of like I have to keep my brain in that context.
Do you feel when you're in that context that sometimes they just appear fully formed to you, and there's no wordsmithing because you're just like, well, there it is. I don't know where that came from.
Rarely, but yes, it has happened. And
just like,
yeah, that's what I want. Because I'm a lazy motherfucker. Like I want just to be downloading constantly.
I know people. I say this sometimes, and I think that there's kind of a worthy stigma surrounding it, like that. But I think of comedy as like a low effort, high reward thing. Like,
really?
I do.
Yeah.
Which people hate. I mean, I haven't felt like going to all these open mics has been a great effort because I'm enjoying it. I genuinely enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's
beautiful
comedy. So it's not felt like, so I have to pretend that that's the grind. It's like, but I put in my reps. But really, like, I just like writing. So I'll write some crazy shit down. If I can get laughs, fuck.
That's how my friend, another comic, Kevin Christie, who's been I've known forever, and he's a staple at the Comedy Store in LA. And I'm like, how do you, he goes up 3 times a week. He has a Neil Brennan kind of mic that's all for big stand-ups to test new material. And I was like, how do you just keep going? He's like, I don't know. I write it, and I'm like, I need to see if it's funny. Like, I just need to.
I relate to that heavy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Are other people thinking this? Or do they not realize they're thinking this? Or when I say this, are they going to think it's really funny that I thought that?
Yeah.
All that.
I think I'm in the stage, and I've said this on the podcast, but I think I'm in the stage where I'm trying to figure out my life and story, almost like in a memoir-esque way. Like I'm like, how have I gotten here? Because I've kind of been I don't know. I just try to live in the moment, try to have fun, try to do what's enjoyable, and then I kind of wake up and I'm like, I'm 46. I have a wife and kids. I live in Maine. Like, how the fuck did this happen?
Right.
And so a lot of the writing that appeals to me is kind of mining my personal experience, which I know from stand-up point of view, I sense this, I don't know why, is there like a looking down on people who kind of like bring their own personal life? Is there like a snobbiness about that you are aware of at any?
Maybe what I think you might be sensing is that low-level open micers are often really have a hard time being vulnerable, and that they have always had humor as a deflective self-defense mechanism.
Interesting.
And so when you talk about your life, they see it either as self-absorption or vulnerability, which terrifies them, and they will then go to the mechanism they've relied on their whole lives, which is to like not humiliate it. What's the word? They need to put it down.
Yeah.
Right. They need to be like, oh, this, you're talking about your kids. It's
Yeah.
gay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's snobbery. I think it's actually just a kind of neuroses that they can't take anything seriously. How unfunny would it be to like think, you know, this, I also think is why like the people, the rare comedians who like able to do deep social commentary and like have a point are people that are really, really friggin' funny, but are not debilitated by their funniness. You know what I mean? Like, you'll meet people, you probably know comedians who can't turn it off, never turn it off.
That's annoying.
And it's annoying. It's like it's kind of tragic.
Yeah.
It's like you'll
They're just bidding all the time.
all bits all the time, and you can't even have a conversation with them, or like shit will be going on in their life, and you are trying for just a moment to check in with them as a friend, and they're like, "Mom died, whatever, dude." It's no big deal. Like, and that's actually tragic. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't speak to like broader comedy community outside of the one that I've experienced, but I have noticed that happens in the Maine comedy scene. There are a lot of comics who are just not able to get vulnerable with you.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what you're sensing.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of like mining of my personal experience too. You don't see it as much. I mean, we're all coming from our own point of view. It's all autobiography.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it intentionally, I think you probably have you're a little head up on the folks that are doing it unintentionally.
Well, it's a good segue because I want to talk about this idea of in our cars, we're like amazing and we rip. And like I've had rehearsals like a half hour before an open mic where I'm like, ooh, fuck yeah.
It's gonna crush.
Let's go, baby.
Of course.
And then you get in this room and the energy of the room and you're like, nothing I did in my car will work because the energy is totally unmatched to this. Somehow I have to take the energy, transmute it, transform it into something where now my set works. Can you speak to this idea of taking control of a room or having to match your set to something ineffable almost in a room?
Yeah.
What do you know about that, and how do you see it, and how do you deal with it?
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a big, I mean, in the vacuum of your car, you were all crushing. If we could all be who we are alone in our car, we would all be stand-up comics.
Professional.
Yeah. If we could do that in front of people, that would be pretty wild. It's an interesting way to frame it, that you framed it. Like, is it that you need to take command of the room and then transmute the energy, or do you need to meet the energy where it's at? And I think that's like a great frame. It's probably something like both at once. Like, I think maybe taking command of a room involves just instantly demonstrating in your body language, your countenance, your cadence, immediately your cadence, that you are like you're a part of the room. You recognize the energy that's in the room, and you're consciously bringing it to where you want it to go. For a moment, you have the mic, right? Like, what that it is, that feels ineffable to me to really describe how people can do it. You witness it, you recognize it when you see it, but it's, you know, it would take, I think a bunch of analysts could talk about, the body language and their tone, or like, I have a deep voice, or like what is it that is commanding the attention of the room? I would stop just short of saying it's magic, right? Because there's definitely quantifiable things that we could like appreciate about how it transpires, that someone just can go up there and in a room that was giggling about stupid puns a moment ago, like talk about some serious topic and get huge crushing waves of laughter from a room, like just to really quickly take control of the room in that way. We are trying to make people laugh, making them do it. It is an involuntary response, laughter, right? So like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's such a cool answer. I think it made me think of the advice or that I've read or whatever that, there's certain techniques, right? Like the person before, if you've been listening, usually there's a way to tie your first joke to what they've done.
Yeah.
Gary Goldman's advice was usually I find it very effective to get up there and make an observation about either the room or the stage or something that no one stated that is honest and funny.
Yep.
And I will say that the blink moment, it's blink moments when you see a professional get up there because they're exuding like you're in safe hands.
Yeah.
And it usually is immediately they find a way to make everyone laugh.
Yep.
And they're just like, oh, okay, this guy is funny and he's comfortable and he's poised and
yes,
this is a professional. Now I can relax.
Yeah.
And I think if I had to state what is the value of open mic land, it's getting good at that. It's just going into hostile environments and being like, I'm going to learn how to, in 10 to 15 seconds, 20, 30 max, just have everyone on my side.
Yeah. Well said. That is a great insight on the value of open mic, I think.
Okay,
that is
cool.
One of the definite takeaways over time that you get is that. It's interesting because I see a lot of the national headliners that come through Empire Comedy Club.
Yeah, just so for people listening, Caleb works at the Empire Comedy Club, which is the one real comedy club in Portland, Maine.
Yes.
And you guys get big people.
Yeah. Huge names.
Huge names come through.
Punching way above our weight class, I would say, for a 130 seat little club to have like Joe List annually come through, have had Big J Ogerson do like 4 sold out shows. Incredible.
Who was the guy that you took me?
Kyle Kinane.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're going to have Doug Stanhope in October, I think. Awesome. Legends. Ari Shafir we had. Really cool club. Wow, I got derailed. What was I going to say? Oh, just that those folks, those heavy hitters, there's a certain degree to which they still do that because it's like a reflex to them, I think, at that point when you're a pro, to riff on the room in some way, to do, like you were saying, in the first 10 or 15 seconds, just make sure everyone's like, yep, we're in good hands. This is a pro. There's a degree to which they have less of an impetus to do it at all because them just being the ticket that you bought, it already kind of did that for them.
Yeah.
I see this especially with like Lucas Zelnick, Rachel Scanlon, people who have big online followings who are there for them, that are their fans, who watch their content, their podcast, their clips, their crowd work. They are so excited to be in the room with them that it's immediate. It's just immediate. Whatever the first thing out of their mouth is, it's going to get applause. You know
and that's sort of the world of the Netflix special. It's like, you know what I mean? Like all those high ticket, those people love this comic.
Yeah. They're like bitter open micers who have no right speculating will often be like, at that level, like, how do you even know if it's funny? They're just laughing because you're Tom Segura. It's like, okay, dude. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Keep telling yourself that.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's wow. Yeah, that's a really great one. I'm going to tell noobs that about open mics. It's like getting comfortable on stage is the value of it, and learning how to bring the energy of the room where you want it to go. And like little things like that you also pick up from hosting shows.
Yeah, there's a lot of value to hosting, isn't there?
I've hosted a ton of shows, and that was something I had to learn, was like, what I have to change my opening bit. I have to do the kind of call and response, like, oh, come on, guys, we can do better than that. Or something to that degree. I have to ask them, aren't you guys excited? I have to freaking project my voice a little more and like yell.
Yeah.
That all is valuable. Or just like the economy of words, like to get through house rules, even. Like if you fucking fumble the house rules and then 5 minutes later you get on stage to host, they're already like, who's this fucking guy?
Yes. I've trying to figure out a way, because when I speak, there's certain moods and, when your brain's cooking, that you're, more articulate. And then there are times where you're, tired or whatever. And like I am now, like it's like halting and you don't really know what you're saying. There are certain comics, like Woody Allen comes to mind, where like almost the whole that thing becomes the part of the act.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, I think I'm gonna have to do that, because
totally
I can't be Krispy Kreme. You know what I mean? I could just I don't have that. And when I listen back to my sets, like the filler words, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like the amount of filler words, and sometimes not. Yeah. And I'm just like, shit, like, because the filler words deflate, and I think they show amateurism, and you're losing trust if you're going or
you're very, at the very least, you're thinking about the next word you're going to say. That goes away just from repetitions, right? To a certain degree.
Yeah, and there's stories I've told maybe 10 times where I know the story and I can change a little bit, and that's a lot of what it is, right? That
fluidity is good. There's also the other side of that coin where you're telling the joke for the 50th time and it comes off too polished,
right?
So, like really strong joke writers, I think, have to will intentionally include a filler word.
Yes.
And I have a bunch of bits, like, where part of it is that it's like, oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, right, the punchline. I knew exactly what I was gonna say. So it is. I've noticed. So when I don't know why I keep coming back to this. It was valuable for my stand-up when I was canvassing, knocking door to door. I was training people to do this.
Political donations, door to door.
Talking
my
about
version
that
of
stuff.
Hell.
Yeah, it's not, nobody wants you interrupting their dinner time, and it's hell. But one of the things that I saw was completely unhelpful in training people how to canvas was pointing out filler words. It would just completely destroy the
because they would
confidence
say one and then they'd panic.
Yes. So it was like not the feedback that a lot of people needed to hear. That I wouldn't worry too much.
It's so funny you say that, because I remember my third open mic or something, and you may have been there. It was at Empire, and it was my first time maybe at Empire, and I was like, oh, my first two, there were so many it was so messy. I got to be Chris, like the pros, and I went, and it was like this robotic, perfectly stated thing that was just not a single laugh, like just crickets for 5 minutes, dude.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, okay, I guess crispy isn't the whole story.
Right.
You know? So, and now, the whole thing, one of the guys that I really like, his name's Fox. I'm spacing his first name, but he's an LA comic, really good writer. And Kirk Fox. If you've never heard of him, you should check it out. Go to his Instagram. Yeah, really funny. And he's got a really good reputation. He started late. Like he was a tennis pro, and then he started in his mid 40s, and now like is big with all the big hitters. He had DM'd me because we have mutual friends, and he was like, I'll help you write some jokes. And I was like, I got to learn how to write a joke first before I start employing like super pros,
Sure.
But he said, just talk. It's like you're just talking with people as opposed to at them, and that was like the only thing he said. And that's one of those like the Buddha talks. It's like this simple thing that you're like, that's like a nothing
it's
statement.
a Zen koan.
Right. Talk at them and with them. Of course I'm talking with them, but there's something there that's very deep.
Definitely.
And I've noticed in all my open mics, if I go up and I have some set in my head and I just like want to get through it properly, it's not nearly as good or as satisfying as being messy, but I feel like I'm like, dude, we're talking. We're having a little chat ski.
Right.
You want to guys have a little chat ski with me up here? You know, like that kind of thing. And if you can say it, you know, and then you feel like after our interview, like I'm going to be in a great mood because I've connected with you in a very real way.
Yeah.
And then the point is like, you can do that on stage.
Yeah.
And anytime I just go up with the intention to connect, there's just more goodwill coming my way, you know?
Totally.
And
that'll also change what you want to write about. Because if you're writing autobiographically, it's like, well, we got to talk about how this is like the human experience, not just my autobiography, right? But like, what's funny about this that everyone can talk about, or if you're doing, or you're at least more self-aware to be like, this is a just me experience, right, y'all? Like in the room, and there's also a thing there. Which I've heard like comedy teacher types talk about, where you're like training them that their input is a part of it, will encourage the laughter and reactions. Oohs, ahs. If you're having a dialogue, you're asking them, you hear stand-ups do this all the time, even if it's completely rhetorical, it's like, right? Like, nodding with folks just to connect, that connection, as opposed to just reciting at them. Reading lines to them.
I would say the premise setting up is always in the sort of you language, like you know, when you blank.
Now I want to write a 5-minute set where I only say, when one goes to the post office.
when one no you. So I'm gonna, because we're I'm going to be nearing my children's school pickup, so I do have to kind of, I could talk for another couple hours.
Hell yeah.
If I may, I think people would be interested. You've witnessed, did you watch my set on Thursday?
Yeah. Well,
it was about meditation and like just, you know, the premise is, I've done so much meditation to try to become a better person. All I'm doing is becoming more mindful of what a degenerate I am. And then, you know, various things. I would be very grateful if you just either, maybe in the context of like, what are you noticing that I'm doing well? What are you noticing that I should work on? And what are you noticing? Like, is there anything that, you know, hit you as like a, I don't know, kind of an area that is worth mining, if you will. And I don't want to put you on the spot because you may not even remember what I said or anything I did. No, honestly, but any kind of impression.
I've always had positive impressions of your sets. I feel like I'm not usually digesting people's sets in a way of like, oh, how can I give them tips, right?
Yeah.
Nor am I super critical if you're doing so. What maybe the feedback then is, I think you're doing a lot of the fundamental stuff right, which is just that and maybe this is learned. I remember your millennials need to fuck more first open mic hot take as being like really funny and it going well.
But interesting.
I don't remember any crickets sets from you, but I haven't been at every single one.
I haven't been at every. No, the first,
I would say you're doing a lot of the fundamental things right. And maybe just from this conversation too, I would say if you've got a premise like that's that loose, it feels like you're opening yourself up to the possibility that when you get up there, what you wrote down isn't what you're going to say. And that kind of playfulness can go a long way and create more connections and have a more conversational feeling, which can be really, really fun for people, where you still have a few punchlines in your back pocket to deploy if the right energy and moment appears in just bringing the topic up with people. Like if the premise is I've done all this meditating and now I'm just more aware of what a degenerate I am. I've done a lot of open mic sets with nothing more than a premise. People sometimes would call that like writing on stage. I don't know to what degree I do that, but sometimes my only goal for an open mic set is to say it out loud in front of people in a room, see what reactions just the premise starts to bring, and go from there.
Do you start doing crowd work a little bit after?
I will occasionally. I don't know how useful that always is for writing, but I guess what I'm saying is like, how comfortable are you with like the extemporaneous writing
Yeah.
based on a premise? Because I think that you would really thrive in that. And then you come away with something that you could do less improvisationally later.
Ooh, this is beautiful. Because that's a really cool idea. It's ballsy. And I think it's ballsy in the sense that you're kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, but it's low stakes.
It's super low stakes.
It's super low stakes.
I think my challenge is because I'm recording them all, and I think the premise of this podcast was that I share them all. It feels weirdly high stakes, every single one.
True.
But I don't have to share, and I've stopped sharing every open mic I do. But
and you don't need to go like full, hey, let's workshop this premise together, guys.
Yeah.
But you don't always need to know the punchline. If you mull over the premise and what you think is funny about it, you can, I don't know, that might be horrible advice, but it's
no, I don't think it is,
a
because
worthy,
ultimately
challenge.
I get my enjoyment, and I try to North Star like what is exciting about this for me.
Yeah.
And I think one of my great challenges is repeating jokes. I don't like doing it in life. I mean, there's a couple that you do because it's almost like a parody of the joke.
Yep.
You know, like one of my friends has a line where his pickup line, oh no, he'll be with a group of his buddies, and there'll be a table of girls like within earshot, and he'll be like, guys, enough with the fucking donkey dick jokes. It's old, so they can hear. And like that dumb shit, like I could hear it 50 times and still find it, so there's certain jokes which I won't tire of saying, I would say on stage, but for the most part, there's a sort of almost like a shame that I'm doing the same thing. And that's a problem with stand-up, I think, because you are all constantly tinkering and doing the same thing. One of the things that's hard while you think about a response is that gave me a bad feeling was watching Louis C.K. do this amazing set. And his performances are so good because they're so coming out of his head. Like there's such I'm talking with you, and this is just coming out of my mouth for the first time. And then this damn Instagram person put on another night the same exact thing, and it was like identical. Exactly the same.
He's master of that.
He's a master. It's every nano beat is mapped out.
Oh yeah. And
I was like, oh shit. Like, I wonder if that's obviously he enjoys that. He obviously has a profound love. I worry that I won't have that love. And I have another friend who started stand-up. He's like really famous, Dak Shepard, and he started doing. He when I said I was going to do this project, he was like, I did stand-up actually right when my kids were born, and he was like, I challenged myself. I just do new stories every night, and he got booked in Vegas, but he never repeated it. Right. And we sort of have he's a master improviser. Sure. But anyway, my that's really my long-winded way of saying there's concern I have going to bed at night that like stand-up is an amazing art form that I'm clearly intrigued by, but I'm just like, oh shit, like is it going to be enjoyable to keep repeating, to have some tight 10 that I repeat 30 times? Yeah,
so I'm only recently beginning to struggle with this because it's been I've got this like 20 minutes I have like that I do the same way every time, and I've started to get sick of some of them. I hate all of those jokes now to some degree, but my suggestion would be like that this stand-up versus improv dichotomy is a false one, and both muscles are really important to exercise, and that you like I said, I did a new 5 minutes for like every week, multiple open mics, sometimes for like 2 years. I was not interested in repeating stuff.
It's wild.
And I had the same sort of fear too. It's like, well, that's not going to be fun. Like I said the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't need to go back there. But there is a ton of value, of course. Like that is the stand-up game, is in the tweaking and the wordsmithing, and then performing it as though it's the first time you've ever said it every single time. There is a lot of value in that, but there's still I think, because of that energy in rooms we keep talking about, there's a ton of value in the improvisational stuff as well.
Yeah.
And like, you don't need to become a crowd work guy to mine the value from whatever you can get out of that, right? I would say. So I think and also, I mean, you've done, how long have you been doing this now? Like,
well, I did my
year?
first open mic about a year ago, but I'm still below. I'm nearing the first 20 open mics.
yeah,
Yeah.
that your first 105 minutes that you write aren't going to be the ones that you want to like immortalize.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, don't be so sure.
yeah.
I think I'm almost done. I think my life's work's almost complete.
Start commissioning the equestrian statues.
Well, exactly. I was down at the Biddeford open mic at Mulligan's or whatever, and it was the first time I had a real set that was like I really focused on the writing, and then all those guys asked me to come do like the real, set or whatever, where there's paying customers.
Yeah.
Which was a really cool feeling of validation of the hard work that I felt like I had done. That being said, they're like, so you got 10 minutes, right? And I was like, what? So now it's sort of like, okay, I had this thing that probably took 6 minutes to perform, but if I do it right, it's probably 4 minutes or 3.5.
Yep.
And now I need another 7 to kind of be that minimum. Would you say 10 minutes is kind of the minimum where you can start being asked to join shows?
No, we'll do guest spots that are 5 on some showcases. Yeah, for like much newer people we want to see how they handle it.
Yeah.
10 feels really short to me now, but but it isn't. It's so much time. You can do so much.
Yeah.
Just watch the first 5 minutes of any of your favorite specials. There's so much. Right?
There's so much packed in, and that's my friend Kevin says. He's just like, at the end of the day, it lasts for a minute.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, and those guys, that's what they're doing.
This is another great thing I had early on, was that at Bull Feeney's in Portland, when there used to be comedy upstairs run by this awesome guy, Mike Levinsky, I think his name is. Really cool guy. He would do, at the end of their showcases, anybody in the audience who wanted to could take the 1 minute challenge, and he would give $1 to whoever had the best 1 minute.
Oh,
and
that's fun.
I think starting to think about minutes of comedy, because one time I was like, I'm going to win the 1 minute thing. And I went there, and this awesome comic in Portland, Amelia, that I love, was just showed up out of the blue, and everyone was like, oh my God, Amelia is making an appearance. Like, we haven't seen her in months, because she kind of comes in and out. She's got a busy life. And she just crushed me.
Oh.
Based on, like, telling just a story from her day, like, casually. I was like,
destroyed.
Fuck, I wrote 6-10 second jokes for this. And it was really, really good lesson. And I have a file on my phone to this day that is just 1 minute challenges, where I'm thinking in terms of laughs per minute. I'm not a one-liner guy. I don't even think of myself as a great joke writer, but it is important to think about it minute by minute. And even if it's I'm notorious among the comics in Portland that I work with a lot for just making a thing way too fucking long, and just having like a 7-minute rant about Amish people that I don't need to have. So I constantly need to be thinking more, like what's the tightest version of this? Where's the setup? Where's the punch in it? And that's a really fun exercise to do, is just like give yourself a 1 minute challenge and then write 10 of them, and then you'll be all set for your comedy mill gig.
Nikki Glaser was on Howard Stern.
Yeah.
And she just explained one regret she had, which is that she didn't ask friends to help her with her sets earlier. Like she just did it all alone.
Yep.
And she thinks it's like so much more fun. I would have gone so much better, so much faster.
Yeah.
And that was all I needed, because I'd been trying to prove to myself that I could be good on my own. And like, you know, I want this all to be me. It was like almost egoic. And then I started just saying, fuck it, reaching out, sending a rant to a friend. What do you think? Is this hack? And just the joy and enjoyment and just collaborating and not being so precious.
Totally.
And the other thing my friend said, he's like, dude, if you're in 2 years, and this is you're a walking testament, if you're in 2 years still performing these jokes that you wrote in your first year of stand-up, like you are failing, dude.
Right.
Like that is not the game. And so I think like you just did it naturally without that advice. You just kind of had an intuitive sense, like I just gotta fucking unclog the pipe, man.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super
and I've
impressive.
only recently become less precious about like accepting tags from people.
Only recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. It resonates that you're going to have awesome people around you who are very clever too. And you're going to, hopefully you're like carpooling to some gig an hour and a half away. You got all that time. You're just riffing like stuff. That's the best thing ever. That's if you can share even a microsecond of that joy that happens in a car, just driving with another comic on stage, like don't deprive audiences of that. It probably was really fucking funny.
Yeah. I think it would supercharge development to just be around comics all the time. And I think those guys are, you know, I think the top guys that's their friends. They're just constantly hanging with them at the clubs.
Yeah. They talk about the good hang, the other part of this work, the social networking aspect of it, where it's like, you can be really, really funny and talented and the absolute displeasure to be around. And then you're not going to get far.
Yeah.
You know, that is something I've had to reckon with too. Not that I'm like not fun to be around, but I'm just like not as motivated by companionship as I ought to be. And I've worked on that.
Lone wolf?
Definitely like a homebody and the just very isolating, self-isolating. Like,
yeah.
I've working at the club has helped with that a lot too. It's like now these people are like my coworkers. I'm not going out to the mic and sitting alone. I'm like behind the bar. And there's like a customer facing aspect to it. Where
that's 4 times a week, right? You're 3.
Yeah, 4. Monday, yesterday went pretty well. It might be 5 soon. But but it's been good for me. I completely agree. We all need to be better collaborators with one another and just share in the joy of it. We all have this shared joy for humor and funny and the craft, like 100%. That's been a
Nikki
growth point for
Glazer
me.
said, she's like, you don't blame an interior decorator for like borrowing the tapestry or the fabric. And so she sees it more as like you're a designer as opposed to like, and I thought that was cool for her to say that. You know, it felt from someone in her position, it's probably more better for her career to be like, no, this is like me. Like, yeah, there were writers at the Golden Globes, but like that was my stuff, you know. And she was just like, no. So anyway, well, Caleb Theodore Sherman.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? Your Instagram is
Caleb the Sherman.
At Caleb the Sherman.
Yeah.
And do you have any of your sets on the interweb?
I do have quite a few clips up.
On YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube as well. All on Instagram too.
Oh, Instagram is the place to see some of your stuff.
TikTok. I went through a phase I was throwing content up like 3 times a week and very quickly got discouraged by that. But
it's awful.
The gram's there, and you can. I'm always at Empire Comedy Club in Portland, Maine.
Go say hi to Caleb at the Empire Comedy Club in Portland.
Yeah.
He's tall. He's handsome. He's fit. He's what, 220? 6'3"?
Did you know that because I say that in one of my jokes, or did you just
No, I'm a
nail that?
weirdo. I just
6'5", 220.
6'5", 220. Guess what, big boy? I am 6'4" and a half, 230,
You're like
dude.
Taller than me.
I'm like a half inch taller, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe
You're
shrunk.
6'5".
I'm 6'5".
Yeah, you're tall. You're taller.
I don't know.
It's all posture. But I'm on an all sugar diet, and I'm just gaining rapid weight, so it's great.
How many large Papa John's pizzas do you eat per week?
Oh, no pizza, dude. I'm not allowed to eat that. It's
Wow.
just, no, I can't eat. I can't eat grains.
Averaging more than one large pizza myself a week. So.
Well, it's a nice price, right? It's good value.
Any
calories
pizza.
per penny.
Yeah. 2,500 calories.
2,500 calories. What is it? You probably have a coupon. It's like $8, right? 9, 10.
If you're loyal, you get a free medium pizza from Domino's every 20 pies.
Dude, Domino's. I miss Domino's. What's your go-to pie?
In Portland.
Well, Papa John's. What's your go-to Papa John's?
Oh, in just garlic stuffed crust with.
So there's cheese in the crust.
Oh yeah.
And it's garlic.
Sure, I think they claim to have put
garlic
garlic
gives
on
me
it.
night terrors, but
And you can't eat grains. You're
well, sugar. No, for people who know me well, I'm always doing some sort of weird thing to try to feel better. I can't do drugs anymore, so it's like you have to feel better through what you eat. Super fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'll be seeing you. I'll see you at Empire, man.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. Peace. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm leaving a little Easter egg for everybody because I assume Caleb's parents would probably listen to most of this. But if they're anything like my parents, they would tune out 8 to 10 minutes in. So I've left an Easter egg, which they will regret not hearing because it's a secret that Caleb revealed probably about 7 minutes into us getting to know each other. And I'm going to leave you with this wonderful little clip. One more thing I'll say about Caleb. In re-listening to this episode and getting it prepared for the World Wide Web, his words seep into my consciousness. And so I found myself today, Wednesday, writing new stuff for an open mic. And because of the freedom with which he explained his own open mics, it inspired me. Caleb inspired me to take some more risks on stage and to not be so hung up on being perfect or looking professional. Open mics are low stakes. And they are a place to push the envelope and to explore. If you can be terrible for 4 minutes and 58 seconds, but if there's one nano moment where you realize something, or you discover something, then that time is worth it. I think that's what I've learned from this interview. This isn't about becoming perfect. This is about doing it your way. And there is only one place left where you can truly experiment and do whatever the fuck you want. And that's open mics. So what am I saying? I've gone from an open mic hater to someone who mildly respects them. No. I see a lot more of the value, and I thank Caleb for that. Is there anything you've hidden from your parents that you'd like to reveal right now?
I've reveled in revealing those things to them over time so much that there's almost nothing left.
Nothing. Almost.
There's one thing that I do that I do a bit about on stage all the time that still hasn't made its way back to them.
Oh,
that is the last.
What is it? What is that bit?
It involves butt stuff.
Yeah, anal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And
receiving or giving?
Being a teenager that was shoving random common household objects in their butt.
In your own butt?
In my butt.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
As one does.
Just exploring
the bit
wonderland.
Is about, it's like a PSA to parents so that hopefully they go home from a comedy show and they see everything in their house in a new light. And
glistening.
Have some kind of a talk with their kids. It's harm reduction. I'm just doing a service.
Yeah. I just imagine your parents hearing the bit and then looking at all the household objects.
In particular, a specific ice cream scoop that I know is still in their silverware drawer.
Good Lord.
Yep. Well, it's out there now.
That's fantastic. It is most certainly on the pod. Yeah, it just makes me want to wish everyone an incredible week full of anal venery.